my Pro Football Hall of Fame friend. We have found him. He is here on the Rich Eisen Show. He's Rod Woodson. How you doing, Rod?
Rich, I am doing fine. Listen. I heard the little thing about Rudy.
Yes.
And I know Rudy lives in Vegas. I live in Vegas. So if you want me to help you out here, and
yes, Rudy's pissed at me because I keep saying that the movie's fake, and it's
If you want me to walk up to the door and ring the doorbell for you, I got
Do
it.
it. Do it, Rod.
You know what, Rod? It's all coming up maize and blue these days, isn't it? So yeah,
That it is.
Right. Now, it's a true story that Bo recruited you, but he was way too intense for you. Isn't that a true story, Rod? Right?
No, not Bo. No. I met Bo for the first time at the Playboy All-American.
Yes.
When they had that back in the day after my sophomore year at Purdue. I met Bo, talked to him, but he didn't recruit me for anything over there. Not going down there to Auburn.
Did Notre Dame ever recruit you, Rod? They
did. They wanted me to take 2 AP courses my senior year, Rich, and I'm like, that's okay. I like school, but I don't like school that much.
See, the provost, they needed you to get things up for you to be admitted to Notre Dame. Is that what you're saying? Right?
That's what they wanted, but I'm like, you know what? I rather go to Purdue. They're not asking me to take 2 AP courses.
This is great. Here's a great story too. I've heard this one. You told me this one. Indiana. How did Indiana? Why didn't you go to Indiana? Why didn't Mystery Indiana go to Indiana? This is great.
Well,
go for it.
So Coach. I'm losing his name.
Corso.
Yeah,
right?
Lee. So Lee was coaching. He was driving up to see me. He knocks on my door, and he tells me who he is, which I already knew he was. And then he told me that he heard that he was fired while he was driving to see me. And I'm telling you what, the dude was he's a great ambassador for Indiana University, University of Indiana, the Hoosiers, because he gave him a lot of love. And he still wanted me to go there. And I was like, Coach, they fired you over the radio.
That's amazing.
Like, if they fired you over the radio and you did all that for them, what would they do to me if I got hurt?
What did he say?
He really didn't have an answer for that.
And last one, though, what trumps it all, Arizona State. Tell me that one. You got to tell me the Arizona State story. Come on now.
I mean, Arizona
Please.
State, go there. They don't have a coach. And I can't remember the name of my host, but he was a tight end. And, I'm a 17-year-old knucklehead kid from Indiana. I don't know who Gandhi is. I mean, I know Gandhi, but I really don't know what it is, right? So he was like, you want to go see Gandhi? And I'm like, sure.
The movie.
Guess,
The movie.
The movie. It's a 3.5-hour movie with the intermission.
Ooh.
So we go at like 5:30 or whatever it is. By the time it's over, it's 9:30, 10. And he's like, well, what do you want to do now? I'm like, man, you can take me back to my room and tell your guys I'm going to Purdue.
So one of the greatest defensive backs in the history of football, I can call you that. You don't have to. We all know you are. Could have gone to Arizona State had the tight end who was in charge of your recruiting visit not said, let's go see a 3.5-hour movie or any movie at all, right? Pretty much.
Because I'm glad he did, because if I would have went to Arizona State, Rich, I don't know if you ever heard about me. I think I would have flunked out.
You'd been hooting with the Owls? Is that what you're saying?
That's a party university, right? So that was probably the best thing, the best decision I've made when I was a kid is not to go to Arizona State.
Rod Woodson's recruiting story right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, Rod, let's jump into it. Do you think what do you make of the Steelers? What is going on? What do you see when you watch this team right now, Rod?
Well, when their defense plays really well, they win. And people can always say they always want to give it back and go back to the run game, and that is a part of it. And I love what Mike Tomlin said this past week when Claypool wanted music, and he was like, the music we're going to be having is pop or pads popping. That's our music. And they really got back to that. They got back to the Steeler way of doing everything. The defense played extremely well. I mean, T.J. Watt, if he doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year this year, shame on all the voters. He's played outstanding football. And then when they have a run game and when he doesn't turn the ball over, they play decent football. And, it'd be a great indication this week when they play when they got
Minnesota,
the Vikings tomorrow night, to see if they can beat a team they're not used to seeing. And that's what I want to see. If they can be consistent, yeah, they put a couple games together earlier in the year, but I just need to see if they can be consistent. If they can be consistent, I don't know if they're the best team in the, obviously Baltimore's the best team in the North, but, they have an opportunity because I don't think there's one great team in the AFC this year.
Yeah, Marlon Humphrey being knocked out. I mean, how many teams like the Ravens keep on taking the licks and keep on ticking, to use the old watch phrase, But that one, Marlon Humphrey, that one genuinely concerns me. Do you think that would even, they say, screw it, we're playing defense the way that we like to play it, no matter sometimes down distance score, what have you. But do you think that one might actually cause the Ravens to reconfigure a couple things? What do you think?
I think it will. You got to understand also what happened at the beginning of the year before the season even started, losing Marcus and the other starting corner on the other side, Marcus Peterson, and now you lose Humphreys. And I know Wink likes to show that look and bring pressure. And, I mean, obviously it impacted John Harbaugh's decision to go for 2.
Yes.
Right? So, is it going to be impactful for the rest of this year? I think it will if the coaches let it. Obviously, you do have a 53-man roster. He is your best cornerback that plays for the Baltimore Ravens. But you got to hope that your young guys can play really good football enough for you. And then you got to hope that the offense kind of comes back around because they haven't played great. And, outside of this past week, they were winning football games.
Few minutes left here with Rod Woodson, Pro Football Hall of Famer, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. I mean, you remember 2001, just coming off of the win for the Ravens, and then the Patriots started that kid Brady, and then all of a sudden they caught fire towards the end of the season, and nobody thought they could make the playoffs. They did. Nobody thought they could actually go deep in the playoffs. They did. Nobody thought they could win the Super Bowl. They did, even though nobody thought that they would, try and win it in regulation, and they did. And then suddenly the confetti's coming down. Do you think we're seeing the same thing again here with Mac Jones and the Pats, Rod? What do you think?
You know what? They have played extremely well, and I love the way Bill Belichick and McDaniels had only 3 passes in the game this past week. Now, I think that shows us 2 things. They understood the climate they were playing in, and I don't know if they really trust, a young quarterback like Jones to throw the ball in a wind like that. I mean, it was extremely windy where Josh Allen, who has a strong arm, it kind of his balls were cutting through the wind. But the biggest issue I have with that game, and I'll get back to your answer,
sure,
is why did it take 2.5 quarters for the Buffalo Bills to realize they're not throwing the football? I mean, they're not throwing the football. We can blitz some of these runs. And they finally figured that out, probably midway through the third quarter, that we're going to really load the box and bring our backers and our safeties down. But I like Matt Jones. He threw I think it was 2 weeks ago, he threw what we call a chair 7. So the number 3 receiver ran a 7 cut or to the back pylon. It was a 3-by-1, and he threw it before he broke. That's not normal, Rich. That's not normal to see a rookie quarterback throw the ball that early. They normally wait to see you get open, then they throw it, and the ball's too late, then it sails out of bounds. He's been throwing the ball and making throws like a veteran player, and that's what I like to see, and that gives me a lot of promise for the Pats. And I hear the comparison of Tom Brady. Look, Tom Brady won. He won quite a few Super Bowls, right?
Yes, he has,
this
sir.
guy's pretty good. But I think what he is, and I think he's played better than Tom Brady coming into it his first year as a starter. Because remember when Tom took over, their defense was lights out for New England, and their defense is good this year. But the way Jones has played this year, I think is a little bit better than what Brady when he started. I like what they're doing. I just don't know if they can win. I mean, if they get home field advantage, it's going to be tough to play in New England late in the year, right, in January. We know that. But if they don't, I just don't know if they can beat the best teams for 3 rounds or 2 rounds and get to the Super Bowl.
Rod Woodson here on the Rich Eisen Show. Last one for you. Brady won Sports Person of the Year for Sports Illustrated last night, Rod. And the reason why I bring it up is there was a piece in an article that came out with the announcement in which this quote he said, and it kind of jumped out at me. And I'm wondering what you think about this. Your guy's been playing played many years and wound up in the room where Brady's going to wind up with the same bust in the same bust room as you. This is what he said, quote, I think, if anything, the most challenging part, you mentioned about playing right now, is the emotional aspect of football for me. When we lose, it's depressing. When we win, it's a relief. It's not like the joy, the happiness. It's a relief because when we win, sometimes just winning isn't good enough for you. What do you think when you hear that, Rod?
Well, most guys like him, and, I retired because I was tired of just going through the rigors of having surgery and coming back from a surgery. It's his choice. He has a certain level of play that he wants to play, and he's rewarded by the wins. And to me, it is emotionally draining to play that long. As long as he's played, that's a long time. I don't know how many more years he has. I think if they win again, they go back to back. I think he drops the mic and walks off, and he gets a job with ESPN, NBC, CBS, somebody, right? And he's making a lot of money doing commentating if he wants it. He doesn't need it, but if he wants it. So I give him, if they win this year, I think he drops the mic, and I think he's done.
To me, that language sounded like that was the language of a coach that's just like the losing lasts so much longer than the wins do. And I was kind of surprised to hear that. Does that sound like a guy who's thinking about it to you?
I think it does because it is draining. To get emotionally jacked up week in and week out for 21 years, Rich. That's hard. And your kids are young. You want to be with your kids. You're trying to, hang around them, but he's going to put a lot of time in the off season again. I think that's an indication where, I think you can hear where it's kind of going because a young Tom Brady wouldn't say that, right? A guy that was 10 years into this thing or 8 years into it or 5 years into it, he never said that, but the older Brady did. And I think that's an indication of him maturing in his life, and he knows how taxing it is, mentally, week in and week out, to get ready for that and to go through those rigors on game day. He has that standard that he wants to play at. So I think if he really gets that win, he's dropping the mic. And, yeah, it is taxing even for coaches. Well, coaches, it does linger a little bit more when you do lose, and you relieve when you do win. So, but Brady's been coaching for the last 12 years, 10 years. Anyway, he's been the coach, right? He's been coaching his guys on the field, so he's been that coach.
Good point, Ron.
He technically doesn't have the title, but he's been that guy.
I just found that whole quote from Brady interesting. So, last thing for you, Rod. Since you're a Purdue guy and a Big Ten guy, you root for Michigan now, right? The rest of the way, correct?
I will. They got to represent. Anybody who's going to get, from the Big Ten that gets into the playoffs, they got to represent the Big Ten. Don't
you think?
It's a tough task, though, Rich.
Why? Because it's the SEC? Because they're going against the SEC, Ron? Is that what it is?
It's one of the best defenses that I've seen in a long time in college football. Now, they did get kind of ran through against, Alabama. And you got to think think about Jim Harbaugh, what he is. He's a smash mouth, physical. Can they run the football like they did in the championship game against Georgia?
What do you think of it? What do you think of it?
They can. I think if they can, they can win.
What do you think of Aiden Hutchinson? Does he look like a top choice in the NFL draft?
That dude, he's a dog. It's what we always say in the locker room, and I think especially the older players who are retired, when you can say, "Hey, I would like to play with a guy like that," that gives a lot of respect to who he is. Mm-hmm. I would like to play with a guy like that.
Wow.
He has that motor. He has that energy. He's athletic. He never stops. Every play matters to him. It doesn't matter if it's to his ball side or away from him. He's going to chase the ball down. I love players like that.
Rod, the win over Ohio State, and then after that has made me such a happy guy. It's unsettling how happy it's made me. You know, it's.
I know it has, Rich. I know it has.
It's unsettling. It's really, ever since 2003 when I got to know you. I mean, it just has been more L's than dubs. So this has been great. It's been.
And I was happy to see Jimmy finally get that monkey off his back and beat Ohio State. And I love his little one-liner when his interview after the game when he said, you wake up on third and you think you hit a triple. I was like, yeah, that's a good one, Jimmy.
Take care of yourself, Rod. Let's chat soon.
All right, take care.
Right back at you. Right back at you. It's Rod Woodson. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here